Coming up next on This Week in Torrance, Governor Jerry Brown sets out on a record fourth term, and he lays out a challenge for a cleaner, energy-efficient California.
And one of Torrance's very own is sworn into office as well, this time in D.C.
Plus, 2 members of the Torrance Police Department travel almost 3,000 miles to honor fallen police officers.
And we looked forward to seeing a hometown hero being honored on New Year's Day. The city of Torrance rides front and center at the Tournament of Roses.
These stories and much more are just seconds away.
Your local news starts right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Week in Torrance. I'm Jin Chin.
And I'm Ben McCain. Happy New Year, Torrance. Here are your top stories. From Torrance City Council to a seat in Washington, Congressman Ted Lieu started off the new year officially representing California's 33rd Congressional District. Lieu was sworn into office in D.C. 2 months after winning the election against gang prosecutor Elon Carr. He succeeds Henry Waxman and is already standing out in Congress as the elected Democratic freshman class president. This newest stage in his political career comes after serving on Torrance's City Council, then moving on to the 53rd Assembly District and eventually the 28th Senate District. Now, Lieu represents the second most affluent congressional district in the nation, according to census data. After being sworn in, Lieu issued this statement to his supporters back home. "I will work with my colleagues in Congress to create jobs, address climate change, improve our transportation and infrastructure, and pass comprehensive immigration reform. On those issues in which we agree, I will work with my Republican colleagues. On those issues in which we cannot reach agreement, I will fight for our democratic values. I will not yield when it comes to defending a woman's right to choose, standing up for the environment, and protecting Social Security and Medicare."
Well, meanwhile, here in California, Governor Jerry Brown kicked off 2015 with the start of his record fourth and final term. Brown defeated his Republican opponent, Neel Kashkari, by a wide margin in November. During his inaugural address, Brown spoke about the importance of reducing California's debt, as well as fighting the issue of climate change. He laid out a challenge for Californians to increase use of renewable energies to 50% over the next 15 years. His plan is to lower our dependency on petroleum-powered vehicles, raise energy efficiency in existing buildings, and make our heating fuels cleaner. He says we must demonstrate that reducing carbon is compatible with an abundant economy and human well-being. Some of the challenges Brown faces today, like air pollution, water programs, and quality of education, are similar to the ones his father faced as the governor of California 56 years ago. The 76-year-old Democrat will be the first California governor in history to serve a fourth term.
Shortly after that address, Governor Brown got back to work on a project he proposed back in the 1980s. In his first term in office, the new governor laid out plans for a high-speed railway that will now be the nation's first bullet train. Workers broke ground on its first installment, which will travel from Los Angeles to San Francisco in 3 hours at 200 miles per hour. This is about half the time it takes to drive it. It's estimated the project will cost $68 million and is expected to be completed in 2029. Officials are counting on this new development to generate revenue and help with the state's debt. Governor Jerry Brown attended the groundbreaking ceremony in Fresno to show his support for the development. So far, the bullet train project has created more than 600 jobs, with a total of 20,000 jobs anticipated over the next 5 years.
Locally, residents will soon be able to enjoy a new and improved McMaster Park as ground broke on its redevelopment project. Originally purchased in 1949, its most recent renovation took place at the North Torrance Library in 2008. Other buildings for recreational use there include the Herma Tillum Senior Citizen Center, the North Torrance Neighborhood, and the McMaster Recreation Building. The North Torrance Library will stay open during construction.
Toyota is doing its part to create an energy-efficient world this year. The automaker revealed its new fuel cell vehicle called the Mirai during November's LA Auto Show, and now they're making that same technology available to other manufacturers. Representing 20 years of research by Toyota, announced at a trade show in Las Vegas, more than 5,000 patents are now released for hydrogen fuel cell and related technology to be used royalty-free. A Toyota spokesperson says the company thought it was the right thing to do, inspiring other automakers to develop their own fuel cell vehicles in their vision of a hydrogen society. The royalty-free patents include just under 2,000 related to fuel cell stacks, almost 300 patents on high-pressure hydrogen tanks, and over 3,000 on software control, among others. The technology behind fuel cell vehicles creates electricity and water vapor needing no moving parts compared to the thousands of moving parts in a traditional gasoline engine. And while other automakers such as Honda's FCV and Hyundai's hydrogen-powered Tucson are on the hybrid bandwagon, Toyota will be the first to make their car available commercially. The Mirai will hit lots in California later this fall with a price tag of around $57,000. It can drive approximately 300 miles on a full tank that takes just 5 minutes to fill. In a related effort to make the cars more practical, Toyota invested over $7 million to build fueling stations throughout California.
And as always, the start of a new year brings the enforcement of new laws in California. The most noticeable concern, labor and employment. For example, AB 1522, known as the Healthy Workplaces, Healthy Families Act, requires California employers to provide paid sick leave to all full-time, part-time, and temporary employees. The law will apply to all employees working 30 or more days within a year and will enable them to accrue a minimum of 24 work hours in that span. Also, volunteers and interns will now receive the same anti-discrimination protection as paid employees. Previously, discrimination on account of race, religion, or even disabilities had been expressly prohibited against apprentice and training programs when they led to employment, but didn't apply to programs not designed to lead to paid work. Now, additionally, employers required to provide sexual harassment training to supervisors will also provide training on abusive conduct. In the law, it is defined as conduct that's found hostile and unrelated to an employer's legitimate business interests.
Time Warner Cable subscribers will notice some new charges on their bill this month, and the cable provider says ESPN is to blame. On January 1st, TWC added a new item to their bills called a sports programming surcharge. A spokesman for TWC says their cost to provide sports networks has risen by 91% since 2008, and it's time to show customers the impact through a specific item on their bills. The firm, SNL Financial, estimates ESPN is the most costly network to cable providers, running just over $6 per subscriber for the rights to broadcast. The lowest cost of the major national sports networks is Fox Sports 1, which costs less than $1 per subscriber. Other fee increases include as much as an extra $2 a month for internet modems and even an extra $1 for a digital adapter. However, the new rates won't affect customers locked into promotional offers. Nationally, many people are cutting ties with cable TV providers in order to avoid such changes. Hulu says in 2013 they topped more than 5 million subscribers, while Netflix added 3 million new subscribers in the third quarter of 2014.
In honoring the two fallen New York police officers, members of Torrance's honor guards were deployed to the East Coast. In a final salute to New York City police officers murdered in Brooklyn 2 weeks ago, family, friends, dignitaries, and fellow officers from around the country gathered for the wake of Officer Rafael Ramos and Detective Juan John Liu. Joining them were two Torrance honor guards. Torrance Police Department's honor guard was the first ceremonial guard force in the South Bay, started in the 1960s. Officer Danielle Morial and Officer Jeffrey Bunchen were the two guard members sent on behalf of Torrance Police. In its own show of support for the fallen officers, the airline JetBlue provided their travel to attend the services.
St. James Church in Redondo Beach is continuing its effort to heal the community after a tragic accident took the lives of 4 Torrance residents. The accident, which happened following a holiday concert at the church, captured the attention of the entire South Bay community with news coverage and memorials. You can still see photos, cards, and flowers outside of the church where a car swerved into oncoming traffic, killing 4 people and sending 8 others to the hospital. Inside the church, members of the parish have started a victim relief fund for the families of those 12 victims. An online donation page, which can be found through St. James' webpage, has photos of the Gaza family, the Matsumura and Lim family, the Wilsons and Quast family, who all were affected by the crash. A spokesperson from St. James says all 8 surviving victims have been treated and released, but continue to seek medical care for their injuries. In coordination with the entire Archdiocese of Los Angeles and support from the community, they've been able to raise more than $35,000 to help those cost as well as funeral services. Donations can be made easily on the official page, while the Archdiocese of Los Angeles warns donations to stay away from potentially fraudulent donation pages by making any payments through donations.la-archdiocese.org. The church also requests that all condolences be sent to St. James Catholic Church to the attention of Monsignor Michael Myers.
Torrance police are asking for help from anybody with information about another fatal car accident. On January 6th, 2 cars were involved in a head-on collision on Pacific Coast Highway east of Madison Street. The driver and passenger of a Toyota Corolla involved in the crash were both pronounced dead when police arrived on the scene. The other driver, a 28-year-old male driving a silver Honda Accord, suffered major injuries and was listed in critical condition at a local hospital. Now, if you have any information relevant to the investigation of the crash, call the Traffic Division at 310-618-5557. Well, still ahead, some stories to highlight Torrance's day at the 126th Rose Parade.
Something's not right.
My first symptoms were
constant tingling in my toes.
My legs, sometimes they'll go numb.
I had double vision.
They said you have multiple sclerosis.
Well, the beginning is the hardest time.
Kind of had to get a grasp on reality.
I had to adapt and change very rapidly.
I had to learn how to drive with my hands. Yeah, that was interesting.
I was a dancer. I don't see walking the way I walk any different than doing a dance. It just looks different. It's a different dance.
You see me have an off day, it doesn't take away from who I am.
A symptom may cause you not to be able to do that anymore. And at one point, I wasn't able to do any of those.
But I would exercise every day.
Since I've been cycling, it's definitely helped my walking.
To make a lot of changes in my life and just adapt to it.
I'm going to acknowledge its presence. I'm not going to discount it, but at the same time, I'm going to try my best to not let it stop me.
It's a fantastic opportunity to be working together with a common goal of curing MS, and sharing is the key.
Welcome back, everybody. Torrance residents look forward to seeing their city's float when the Tournament of Roses comes each new year. This year's float, A Race Well Run, was special because it honored a hometown hero, but also because it took an army of volunteers and donors to make it a reality. Julie Chan has the story.
I've been doing it for 19 years, almost 20, and all of my assignments have been wonderful. It's what you make of your assignments. They're all fun, even when you're standing on the corner, freezing to death. It's fun.
Bessie, along with 935 other volunteers, don't mind missing a night of sleep on January 1st each year to volunteer for Pasadena's iconic New Year's Day celebration. And it's when you become a local, the idea to serve in this way is irresistible.
I moved to Pasadena about 8-9 years ago and live close to the parade route. And once I started seeing the parade live, it became a whole nother experience. And was asked to join. To become a member, a volunteer, you have to be recommended by a member, write an essay and do an interview. So it's one of the more difficult organizations to volunteer for, but it's been wonderful.
I thought it was going to be boring and long, hard work, but turns out it's actually one of the most fun service projects that we do. I do watch it on the TV, and I'm like, Mom, I actually made that rose float. I made it.
High school senior Andy Kim is in his 3rd year of float decorating, while Torrance native Dawn Hamilton has dedicated time for 24 years to help decorate the local city float.
I see some of these people once a year, and it's like we come and see each other, it's like, oh my God, how are you doing? And we catch up, and it's like we haven't not seen each other over the year. So it's kind of cool. You just kind of catch up with your life, and people ask me how my family's doing because they've known my family since they've all decorated together, so it's kind of cool.
It's more than work, but a chance to make new friendships. For others, like Tracy Griffiths, it's taken on more of a leadership role.
Basically, we get a book of instructions and a float handed over to us, and it says, what materials go where, and we get a group of volunteers and get to instruct them, teach them how to do it, and it's like it's really an awesome experience because so many people have this on their bucket list.
Crew chiefs and volunteers decorate floats from December 26th to December 30th from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. But on December 30th, they stay until the entire float is ready for judging at 8 a.m. December 31st.
We have such a great time doing the decorating, but one of the best things is sitting in the hotel room with your feet kicked up watching the parade in bed.
The Pasadena Tournament of Roses Parade offers many opportunities to touch volunteers and personalize the New Year's Day event.
Come to Pasadena and experience this wonderful feeling. It is once in a lifetime.
Thanks, Julie. The Torrance Roseblood Association is an organization built entirely of volunteers.
A race well run isn't the only piece of Torrance that was on display at the Rose Parade. Julie Chan is back to explore how Honda's float brought visitors from the other side of the globe out to celebrate New Year's in Pasadena.
I'm here in the Rosemont Pavilion in Pasadena where the Honda float is being decorated right behind me. We're going to find out all about this 54-year-old partnership between Honda and the Tournament of Roses. Building Dreams of Friendship is the title of the presenting sponsor's float. Honda is showcasing more than just one partnership this year.
Thank you, Honda.
20 Japanese students are grateful to be the inspiration that will lead the parade and showcase American Honda's involvement in the Tomodachi Initiative.
They arrived the day after Christmas. They're going to be participating in all sorts of cultural exchange activities, meeting with some high school kids in Torrance, doing volunteer projects. But really one of the highlights is going to be riding our float on New Year's Day.
As you see behind me, the Tournament of Roses Queen and Court are taking pictures today and meeting with the riders from Japan of the Honda float.
I want to join Rose Parade and I want to learn about American culture.
Takumi Matsuzaki, a senior from the Miyagi Prefecture of Japan, was greatly affected by the 2011 tsunami and earthquake. He has watched the Rose Parade on YouTube and enjoyed the tour of how the floral floats were made.
Honda's been a long-time partner of ours in terms of providing vehicles for us, the Paceless Sound Car, you know, all the scooters that go down the parade route, and then for almost 40 years they've had a float in the Rose Parade as well. So it was natural for us to have that conversation with them once we started thinking about having a presenting sponsor for the Rose Parade, and it's been wonderful in terms of our relationship with American Honda because they're just part of our family.
Rose Parade 2015.
One side representing Japan, one side representing the United States, joined together by a bridge of friendship and cultural understanding.
The students had the chance to help decorate and then put their piece on the Honda float. On January 1st, the 20 students from Japan will be joined by 8 armed force officers who were in Japan to aid in the relief efforts of 2011.
Very, very excited.
I think it's an incredibly powerful, inspiring story, the way these students have overcome the hardship that was caused by such a horrible natural disaster, and you know, they're persevering and they're moving on, they're rebuilding their country, and they're here trying to create more friendship and understanding between our two countries.
Thanks, Julie. Honda's Cultural Exchange Program also plans to bring more Japanese students to the U.S. over the next 3 years.
Of course, it was the moment many of us waited for, seeing Louis Zamperini honored as Grand Marshal. Laura Fong gives us one last look at the Torrance Roseblood Association's tribute.
In honor of the late Louis Zamperini, who was the first Grand Marshal to pass away before a parade, a riderless horse was used to represent him, and his 2 children took his place on the parade route. If Louis was here today, how would he be feeling?
He'd be on top of the world.
While Zamperini is no longer with us, his remarkable legacy lives on through his children and the many people he's inspired, including Jim Standifer, one of his best friends and one of 8 riders proudly representing Torrance's float dedicated to their hometown hero. The Torrance Tornado had one more course to run, and this time the entire world was cheering for him. Even though temperatures reached mid-30s on the first morning of the new year, hundreds of thousands packed Pasadena's Colorado Boulevard, including Congressman Ted Lieu and his family. They came out to celebrate the 126th annual Tournament of Roses Parade and to honor Lucky Louie.
We actually brought my parents, so it's my mom and dad here also up there sitting there right now, and you know, with my 2 kids, so 3 generations here celebrating this wonderful day.
The Lieus, who live in Torrance, said they don't usually buy tickets to the parade, but said this was a special year to show their support.
We're very proud of Torrance for being such a big part of this parade, and just very happy to be here.
Not only was American Honda the sponsor for the 5th year in a row, the Torrance-based organization Go for Broke teamed up with the city of Alhambra to pay tribute to Japanese American veterans from World War II. And to top off an already big year for Torrance, the city's float took home a major award, which further pays tribute to Zamperini's inspirational story of resilience and endurance.
It's a float that has inspired the city and all our volunteers, and we did it. We got the theme.
A race well run won the theme prize, meaning the float best represented this year's theme of inspiring stories. Vice President of the Torrance Rose Float Association, Georgine Griswold, said this was a huge honor because all of the 39 floats were in the running for this prize.
Awesome. It's a big prize. And, Louis deserves it.
While Zamperini is not here to celebrate with his friends and family, they're happy to carry on his legacy for him.
I'm very honored to be on the float. I thought so much of him, and I miss him every day.
For Torrance City Cable, I'm Laura Fong.
Thanks, Laura. So much attention has been given to the story from Unbroken, but Zamperini's own book, Don't Give Up, Don't Give In, was completed just before he passed away last summer. It details Zamperini's life where Unbroken left off upon his homecoming after the war. For anybody excited to see more coverage from the 126th Tournament of Roses Parade, here's Julie Chan with a preview of Spotlight Torrance.
Welcome to Spotlight Torrance, where we're exploring your city.
The combination of the tribute to Louis Zamperini and the release of the movie Unbroken and this float that Torrance is sponsoring in the parade.
I do watch it on the TV, and I'm like, Mom, I actually made that rose float. I made it.
Well, still ahead, we'll update you on some local events to mark on your calendar.
Hi, I'm Hannah Storm. I was born with a significant facial birthmark. I know what it's like to grow up in a world that looks at you very differently. Fortunately, I had access to care. But every day, many children courageously face the world with physical imperfections and deformities. Some are born with these, others get them from disease or injury. Sadly, many assume they have no choice but to tolerate them, but it doesn't have to be that way. There are medical procedures that can help these children regardless of their ability to pay. Together with the Caring for Kids program from the Plastic Surgery Foundation and the Hannah Storm Foundation, there is hope. With your help, we can give these children a new outlook on life. I know, I was one of them. Help a child in need at thepsf.org/kids.
Welcome back, everybody. We hope you have a pen and paper handy. Here's a few noteworthy events to tell you all about. On Saturday, January 17th, you can get rid of those old electronic devices you don't use. Students at West High will be taking everything from old iPhones to microwaves and printers at their e-waste recycling drive. They say pretty much any electronic device you don't use anymore, whether it's outdated or broken, still has working parts that can be recycled. Now, the best part is it keeps our community clean by cutting down the spread of toxic e-waste chemicals. On Friday, January 23rd, Congresswoman Maxine Waters and Congressman Ted Lieu will be in Torrance to give their State of the Region address. The Torrance Area Chamber of Commerce is bringing the members of Congress to the DoubleTree by Hilton on Hawthorne Boulevard, where you can learn what's in store for South Bay residents from our nation's capital. Tickets to the event are $40 per person with registration to attend beginning at 11:30 a.m. For more information, call 310-543-5390 or visit torrancechamber.com. If you're looking for something fun, exciting, and best of all, free to do with the family, I love that free part, then you'll want to mark your calendars for Saturday, January 31st, as some of the biggest museums around Southern California take part in the 10th Annual Museums Free for All program. This includes free admission to the public for Day 1. Among the participating museums this year will be the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, the Museum of Contemporary Art, the California Science Center, and the Skirball Cultural Center. Here in Torrance, the Torrance Art Museum is always free year-round. You can find out more on which museums are participating. Go to museumsla.org. That does it for us on This Week in Torrance. I'm Ben McCain. If you missed any portion of our show, you can catch us again at 11 a.m. and 6 p.m.
And I'm Jin Chin. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.